Good morning, YouTube family. How you doing today? It's Captain Foley with you again. It's been a while since I've done anything on the bench with this uh, Enterprise C model, but that's because there's been a few changes going on around here. As you know, I've been doing the movie reviews for Star Trek. I'm going to continue on with that very shortly, probably tomorrow with Star Trek 5. And until then, we are going to get to work on this decaling on this Enterprise C today so that you can see the decal methods that I use. Now, as for the changes that have been going on around here, some of you might notice that there's a new desk, a new organization going on. Picked up a new desk at IKEA yesterday. So it's bigger, it's longer, it's faster. We can rebuild it. We have the technology. So there's that going on. Also, yesterday I was out and about and I found this light up Starship Enterprise, and this is pretty effing cool, to be honest with you. Here it is up here, proportioned beautifully, very well done. And look, you got a little on-off switch there. So if I turn it on, it lights up the saucer section. It is a very cool little toy. It's $12.99, but I got it at 25% off. So I have it sitting up there, orbiting a heavenly body. I think y'all know what I mean. So I'm just going to switch it on so I don't kill the battery. But yeah, this is the new desk setup. And I think it's a much better deal. So this Enterprise, get back to this, comes with a little book, just like my little phaser that I've done a video on earlier on my channel, if you want to check that out. So yeah, this just goes through the introduction, tells about the ship, about Gene Roddenberry's vision. It also goes on to talk about the 5-year mission and ship schematics. Talks about the primary hull. Secondary hull, defensive systems. Propulsion. Short range travel. Shuttlecraft there. Transporters. Early voyages. Final Frontier. I'm wondering if they're going to do a refit, because that would be epically awesome if they made a refit. The only problem I have with it, really, is that the engine Bizarre collectors, the nacelles, don't glow. That would have made it very epically cool. Not that it already isn't. Most of these little gitchy toys you get, the proportions are all off, and I don't like that, but this one's perfect. So anyway, so we're going to get on to decaling this. Now, I've already applied my couple coats of clear coat, shiny gloss coat, as you can see. That's a necessity for doing any good decal job. If you don't do that, you're going to get air trap between the decal and the rough surface of the paint, and it's going to do something called silvering, which we don't want. I've made that mistake on a few older models, and never again. So I put on the clear coat here. It's about 3 coats. You got to let it dry, obviously, between each coat application. And here's the secondary hull, ready to go. Now, I did have a bit of a problem. This time I used testers, spray lacquer. I usually use Tamiya, but I didn't have any clear coat of the Tamiya, and the store we were at had the testers, so I bought it. And it was a bad idea, because when I sprayed this, a lot of the windows that I had already done kind of smeared. And it's only my 2500 scale. It's not a huge deal as far as windows go, as far as I'm concerned. I should have really waited and put the decals or the windows on after the decals, but I was trying a little experiment that one of my viewers suggested that I try putting the windows on first and see how they shine come through the decal. But we have a few issues here. I've cleaned up most of them. Some of them are really bad. I'm not going to bother with these right now. I might try to scrape some of that off still. We'll see. But we've got to get onto the decaling, so we're going to do that. Now, we get Chinese food. We get them in these little containers here. These are perfect for decals. You can either use that part or the clear part. I'm going to use the clear part today. Got some water spots on it, but that's all right. So what you're going to want to do is you put like 2 drops of regular liquid dish soap in here, and then you not fill it up, but this isn't very deep, so probably about halfway full of lukewarm water. I'm going to do that right now, so just hold on a second. Alright, so I've got it halfway full of water now, with 2 drops of dish soap. The dish soap is just basically to make the application of the decals much easier. Since this is a smooth surface now with the gloss coat, all you have to do is, once you put the decal in and you put it on the model, the slipperiness of the dishwater is going to ease movement of the decal so that you can place it properly and make sure it's where it's supposed to be. If it's not in the correct position, you can kind of wrangle it around a bit and get it where you need it to be. We're also going to be using Micro Set and Micro Sol. Now I've looked online. You're supposed to use Micro Set first. You actually, right before you apply the decal, you put Micro Set on the model with a paintbrush or Q-tip, something like that. Not a lot, just enough to make sure the whole surface is clean and free of debris, and there's a little bit of moisture on it. Then when you put the decal on, it's going to start thinning. Now, you still have a lot of time with the Micro Set to move it around, because once it starts to thin, you're not going to want to move it too much, but the Micro Set allows for a little bit of time to help move it around also if you don't do the dish soap idea. And then after that, you're going to want to use Micro Sol. Now, it doesn't sound like the right order to do it in. You would think that the Sol would come first and the Set would come second. However, I have checked on the website and this is how it's supposed to be done. So the Micro Set goes on first, the Micro Sol goes on after the decal is where you want it. You brush it on over top of the decal and it thins it out and conforms to irregular surfaces for a painted on look, as you can see there. So that's where we stand with that. I'm going to pull out the decal sheet right now, which is just over here, and we are going to cut out our first decal. Oh, one more thing, just you can use anything to use for decals. I also use this, just little Tupperware containers. They don't have to be very big. And or if you have, depending on the size of your decals, you can do whatever you want to use, whatever you want to use. But Tupperware and or like takeout container things like this are a great idea, and they're super cheap. So it doesn't have to be anything fancy. All right, so I got our first decal cut out here, and it's one of the lower saucer rings. And it's not very big, but it's not very small either. I just want to kind of give you an idea of what to do. So you set it in the water until the backing becomes wet. Might take a couple seconds to soak up the water. You don't want to let it sit too long, otherwise it's going to fall off of there and float in the water, which is fine. You can recover them with a pair of tweezers or whatever. So that's good enough. I'm going to take it out now. Just a second here. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. So take it out with a pair of tweezers. Let it sit for another couple seconds just on the edge so that it can kind of loosen up a little bit. Okay, go to the bottom here. It's going around this ring here. And you got to be careful with some of these models with the decals, because it shows you which ones to lay down first in white, and then the darker number goes on after, on top of the previous decal. And this one has a ton of decals, so I'm going to show you a few of them, but most of them I'm just going to do, and you're going to see the end results at the end of this video. So this is sat long enough for sure. I don't know how I'm going to do this holding this thing. Hold on a second here, guys. Before I do any of that, I got to, of course, put the micro set on. Put the micro set on the area it's supposed to go on to. You don't need to exuberant amounts, it doesn't need to be soaking wet, just a couple drops. Also make sure that the surface is free of dirt and dust. Okay. You place that on there. We'll try it this way, we'll see if it works. So I can show you guys. I need a tripod for my iPad is what I need. So you very gently slide it off of there. Throw this out, don't need that anymore. As you can see, it's on there. Now I just need to finagle it around a little bit. You can use your fingers, you can use a toothpick, whatever you need to kind of get it in place. Take another quick look here, make sure it's in the right spot. Yeah, I know, guys, I need a tripod. I know. So you can see what I'm doing. You gotta be careful working with bigger decals. They're a lot harder to work with. They tend to rip quite a bit. You just gotta learn finesse. I usually use my tweezers to move them around, but a lot of people suggest you don't use metal implements. You use like a toothpick, which is fine. I mean, everybody has their own little technique. I've always found that the tweezers work fine because I'm using them anyway to pull the decals out of the solution. So they're usually in my hand. So there's the first decal placement on there. Okay, so now what we want to do is use our micro saw. I'm going to actually apply most of the decals and put the micro saw on afterwards, but I'm just going to show you guys real quick on this one. So you can see what, so you just get on your paintbrush, and you just make sure you rub the whole thing. And that's going to help it adhere to those grid lines and all the textures on there, and really make it look like it's a painted on look. So there you go, guys. It's the first decal. I'm going to do up a bunch of other ones, and if I think of any tips or anything along the way, I will definitely let you guys know. I got a chip on my shoulder. But otherwise, I'm going to see you in like a second magically, and this will be finished. So see you soon. And another tip they recommend, actually on the instructions themselves, is when you're dealing with bigger decals like this, it's possible to cut them up into sections so that it's easier to apply for you, because a lot of times the bigger ones are harder to get on. Personally, I've never done that. I've had quite a few decals rip or fold over on me before. If they fold over, the best thing to do is to take them off with a pair of tweezers, put them back in the water, swish them around a little bit very gently, and they'll unfold and they'll get back into their proper shape. What was I saying? So yeah, I don't cut these up, but oh, that's it. A lot of times they do rip when you're moving them, and it's just a matter of really careful and patient playing around with it, messing around with like a toothpick or tweezers, whatever tool you want to use. But that will, you can line them up and you don't even notice it. There's been quite a few models where that's happened, and nobody can see it, not even me, after the fact. So don't worry about if your decal rips. Just take it easy. Don't freak out. put more microset on it, put more water from the dipping tray in it, on it, and just gently finesse it, move it around, and get it lined up perfectly with the other half of the decal or whatever that you need to do. And you will be fine, trust me. So I'm going to go ahead and put this larger one on and just show you the bottom, and then we're going to continue on and get this stuff done. Now, a lot of times, almost every time, the decal is going to curl in the water, but just flatten it out best you can, and it'll soak up the water into the paper, and it's the paper that gets wet. That's what loosens the decal, so you just got to let it sit for a little bit. But smaller decals don't have to sit very long. Sometimes it's just a quick 1-2 second dip in the solution and you pull them out. But for larger ones, to get the soakage you need, sometimes you gotta let them sit for a little bit so that all of the paper gets covered and gets wet enough to let loose the decal. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm gonna do this one, throw it on here. So you got a little bit of a wrinkle there. Don't worry about wrinkles, they generally work themselves out. And when you put on the microsol, you can buff out any air bubbles. If you do have a major air bubble in an area that you can't get out, just a simple little pinprick, and it'll release all the air underneath, and you can flatten it out and you won't even notice. Okay, so I'm going to put this on, and I'll talk to you in like a magical second. Okay guys, I gotta say, I'm an expert at this. I consider myself close to being an expert. And this decal on this model is a pain in the ass. Here doesn't matter because that's where the neck goes. But all of these life pods or escape pods line up perfectly until you get to this side, and then they are way offset. So I had to like slice. I still need to slice some more off of there, but to adjust it. And because of the grid lines and the size of the decal, there's a lot of wrinkling and a lot of bubbles, as you can see. So what I'm going to have to do is, after I let it dry, I got to see how it looks, and then I have to adjust accordingly. Just adding microsol and wetting it, and then ironing out wrinkles or whatever. But for the ease of these models, these 1/2500 scale, for the ease they are to build because they're snapped together, they're basically for a novice model builder. That's great and wonderful, and there's no painting, but of course I did do painting, but of course there's these decals, which most people that don't have any skill in model building wouldn't be able to do. This is just atrocious, this model. I would recommend highly for anyone that does this one to cut these into like fours, to cut it into quarters and lay them on that way. Like I said, I still gotta trim some stuff off there, and I still need to work out a few wrinkles and stuff, but I've been working at this for like 10 minutes. This one decal, it's just ridiculously huge, and to line everything up is a pain in the ass, because considering I think the decal is a little bit too big and the escape pods didn't line up perfectly. So, but other than that, it's not too bad right now. I got most of the shit out of it. Just gotta let it dry and see the damage, and I also just have to do a trimming job here. But yeah, definitely, I would, if you're a novice builder building this one, definitely make this into a couple smaller decals to put on. It'd be much more manageable for you. And I had my suspicions that, like this one, it would have been better to paint this stuff on. As you can see on the bottom of this one, I have it all painted on, and I think it looks way better. It's brighter, it pops more. I don't know. I don't know what to do about this, guys. It's the bottom of it, you'll never really see it, so it's not a huge deal. That's why you always start on a section where you're sure that nobody's going to really see it, and then you move on from there. You get your decal practice with the smaller parts, or the parts that nobody will see. So I'm going to finagle with this for a little while and let you know how it goes. It's been about 20 seconds, maybe 30 seconds since I hit the stop record button, and I've got the NCC 1701C on the bottom. The small decals are perfect. They go on beautifully. They look great. Just these big ones that are a pain in the ass. I've come to the realization, though, that I obviously have a life and a few things to do today, and I don't think I'm going to have time to do all of these decals for this video. So what I'm going to do is wrap this video up. I've given you all the tips you need, really. If there's any problems, questions, suggestions, anything you have, please put them in the comments below. But I'm not going to have time to do all this. It's going to take at least an hour, maybe 2 hours to do all these decals properly. So I'm going to have to work away at it today and a little bit tonight, and hopefully by tomorrow it'll be done. The next video you see, it'll be a completed model, and I'll let you know of any problems I had or whatever during the course of it. So once again, guys, thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to you guys coming back and checking me out again. Please subscribe, like, suggest this channel to anybody you know that likes model building or Star Trek, as those are my passions. So yeah, that's I think it, guys. So like I said, if you have any concerns or questions about the decal, the decaling tips or procedures that I've informed you of in this video, please let me know in the comments below. Any suggestions also. So you have a few air bubbles here. I've popped a few already, and a lot of them, since they're still wet, you can kind of push them out with your thumb. Just be careful the decal doesn't stick to your thumb. But yeah, please leave comments. Let me know if I've done anything wrong that you think or whatever, and I will talk to you very soon. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. This is Captain Foley signing off. Bye-bye.